The galaxy burned. Across the void, worlds that once glittered like jewels now hung silent and black. Their cities turned to ash, their skies filled with drifting wreckage. The core Dominion had come, and as always nothing survived their passing. They moved like a living storm, billions strong, metallic ships shaped like blades, slicing through light itself. Their armies were endless, ranks of armored warriors, cold and mechanical, born for only one purpose, conquest. No species had ever stopped them. The peaceful Alvaran Confederacy fell in 7 days. Their crystal towers, once radiant across the nebulae, were shattered under orbital bombardment. The Threx hordes, known for their armored warriors and twin sons of pride, held for a week longer, but even they were crushed, their war moons dragged into their own suns. And the Vorn, ancient machines who thought themselves immortal, were turned to molten slag when the Dominion's weaponized suns ignited their factories. One by one, civilizations vanished, and at the center of it all sat Warlord Vortal. In the cold throne room of the Dominion flagship Obsidian Reign, Vortal watched a holographic map of the galaxy flicker before him, each conquered world glowing a dull, lifeless red. His armor was carved from the remains of fallen enemies. His eyes burned like dying stars. He had no mercy, no doubts, only the desire to bring all life to its knees before the Dominion's banner. "Sector 9 is secured, my lord," said a subordinate officer, bowing low. "The last of the Alvaran resistance has been neutralized." Vortal's voice was slow, deep, like iron grinding against stone. "Good, prepare the next route. The stars beyond the Orion Arm are unclaimed." The void hungers still. A murmur ran through the command deck. The Dominion's maps stretched outward, deeper into the dark spiral arms of the Milky Way. There, far from galactic centers, a cluster of quiet systems waited, simple, unnoticed, small, perfect prey. But as the ships repositioned, a sudden spark appeared on the holographic grid, a signal. Weak but clear. It pulsed from an obscure yellow star, Sol. "Unknown transmission detected," reported a sensor technician. "Primitive analog frequency. Binary-coded data structure." Repeating at intervals, Vortal's expression didn't change. "Another dying plea for help?" The technician frowned. "No, my lord, it's—" Music. The command deck fell silent. The strange signal hummed softly through the speakers, faint, distorted but rhythmic. A human broadcast, an echo of an old song drifting through the void. The warlord leaned forward. "Origin? Third planet from that star system. The world's biosphere is unstable. Oxygen-based life, carbon forms, uncontacted. No interstellar defense." Vortal's lips curled into a small, predatory smile. "A new conquest, then. Prepare the fleet. Let this music world be our next offering to the void." Beyond the Dominion's reach, billions of kilometers away, the small blue planet called Earth rotated quietly under the light of its sun. It was peaceful, or at least, they had believed it was. But in a cold room deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, alarms began to flash. The North American Deep Space Defense Network had caught something unusual, a faint radiation trail beyond Neptune's orbit. Lieutenant Mara Patel leaned forward over the console. "That can't be right. This reading's not natural, it's controlled." Her supervisor, Commander Reed, frowned. "Check for debris signatures. Maybe it's another mining probe from Europa." "No, sir," she whispered, her voice tightening. "It's too fast, too large, and it's changing formation." Reed froze. "Formation." That word changed everything. "Patch me through to NORAD Command," he said, his tone sharp. "And get confirmation from the European Observatory. If this is what I think it is." Before he could finish, the signal intensified. 1 became 3. 3 became 50. Then a fleet-sized pattern appeared on the deep space radar. Earth wasn't alone anymore. Back in the far reaches of space, the Dominion's advanced fleet closed in, engines glowing like red suns. "Scouts, report," ordered Vortal. The lead scout cruiser sent back visuals, an image of Earth blue and green, fragile and beautiful against the darkness. "Primitive world," said the scout commander, sneering. "No orbital defenses, no energy barriers, barely reaching beyond their own moon. They rely on combustion engines." The bridge erupted in laughter. "Send a probe," Vortal commanded. "I wish to see this world myself before we erase it." The probe streaked through the void, silent and fast. It entered the solar system undetected by any human instrument, skimming past Mars and Jupiter, its black hull absorbing every trace of light. When it finally reached Earth orbit, it began transmitting images, the planet's cities glowing like small embers in the night. Vortal watched in amusement. They still burn fires to see in the dark. How quaint. But something caught his eye, a pattern of metallic structures circling the planet. Satellites, thousands of them. One of his lieutenants chuckled. Decoration, perhaps? No, Vortal said quietly. Tools, eyes in the sky. They watch. He stood, the metal floor echoing under his steps. This species may not know us, but they are observant. They prepare. The room fell silent again. The warlord turned toward the holographic map. Let them see us coming. Let them know what approaches. Their fear will be their offering. And with that, the fleet accelerated towards Solbak on Earth. The world governments convened in emergency sessions. Messages flashed across continents. Panic mixed with disbelief. NASA confirmed the readings. So did the Chinese Lunar Defense Array and the European Space Telescope. Something was coming. Something massive. In a sealed bunker, world leaders and military officials gathered around digital displays, showing the incoming trajectory. How long do we have? The president asked. Commander Reed replied, at their current speed, 3 weeks. Maybe less. Silence filled the room. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew what it meant. Humanity had never faced an enemy beyond its own sky. And now something vast, merciless and unknown was descending upon them. For centuries, Earth had looked to the stars with wonder. Now it looked with fear, but even fear couldn't smother the spark that made them human. Somewhere deep beneath the Earth, in secret command bunkers, hidden labs, and black ops hangars, people began to move, scientists, engineers, and soldiers who had waited for this day. As the blue planet spun beneath the cold light of the stars, its defenses stirred awake. The core dominion was coming, and humanity was not as weak as it seemed. The stars above Earth had never looked so quiet. Yet beyond them, death was moving. The core dominion fleet tore through the void like blades through silk, their engines leaving trails of red light across the black. At the head of that fleet sat Warlord Vortal, his eyes fixed on the blue world now filling the main display of his warship. To him, Earth looked small, fragile, unprepared, but something about it made him pause. It was not fear. It was curiosity. Prepare the invasion sequence, he ordered coldly. End it quickly. We move for conquest, not spectacle. His lieutenants obeyed without question. Drones scattered ahead, scanning the solar system. Their data streams poured into Dominion databases, analyzing every human signal, every broadcast, every defense network. The results were disappointing. Humans were noisy, emotional, and primitive. Their most powerful weapons were nuclear, ancient, dangerous even to themselves. They are nothing, sneered one officer. To her species still fighting over land and water. Vortal did not smile. Even insects can swarm when cornered. Do not underestimate desperation. Back on Earth, the silence was breaking. In command centers buried deep beneath mountains and oceans, radar screens glowed with new readings. The same signal appeared worldwide. Something massive had entered the solar system. It was not an asteroid, nor debris, nor any known object. It was formation, precise, coordinated, intelligent. General Sarah Cade, head of the United Nations Space Defense Council, stood before a massive tactical display. Her jaw was tight, her eyes cold. Confirm visual data, she ordered. A satellite feed flickered to life. Dozens of dark shapes appeared, each the size of a small city gliding past Saturn's orbit. My God, whispered a technician. They're not hiding. Cade turned to her communication officer. Send a message. Open all deep space frequencies. Moments later, a signal burst outward from Earth, a message of peace and caution, translated into every known binary and radio pattern. It was simple, calm, and human. This is Earth. We are a peaceful world. Identify yourselves. Hours passed. No reply. Then the first strike came. Without warning, the Dominion's forward scouts fired plasma lances at the moon's far side outpost, shattering its research domes and communication towers. Thousands died instantly. The explosion was so bright, it could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. In the command center, alarms screamed. Lunar base destroyed, shouted an officer. Impact confirmed. No survivors! General Cade didn't flinch. "Activate Project Ares," she said quietly. Her staff froze. Project Ares was top secret, a last resort defense protocol hidden from the public for decades. "But ma'am," one officer stammered, "Ares hasn't been tested." "Neither have they," Cade cut him off. "Do it?" Deep under the Atlantic, long-buried silos opened. Massive platforms hidden beneath the ocean floor began to rise. In orbit, cloaked stations activated their power cores. The human warfleet, silent waiting, came alive. But before the fleet could move, a new signal came through. "General," said the communications officer, voice shaking, "we're receiving something." "It's them." Static filled the speakers, followed by a deep mechanical voice, harsh, guttural, inhuman. "You are insignificant. Submit or be erased." The message repeated in every human language. The room went dead quiet. Then Cade spoke. "Send this back." She stepped to the console and leaned close to the mic. Her voice was calm, steady, cold. "We are the people of Earth. We do not submit." The Dominion fleet advanced. Within hours, human defense satellites around Earth locked onto hundreds of incoming ships. Plasma signatures filled the sky. The first wave was enormous, enough to crush any resistance in moments. But humans were not like the others the Dominion had faced. They didn't kneel. They adapted. The first battle began above Mars. The Dominion's vanguard entered the orbit, expecting no challenge. Instead, they found a trap. Hidden among the asteroid belts were human-built drone carriers, automated platforms armed with rail cannons and kinetic warheads. As the Dominion ships passed, the carriers unleashed a storm of projectiles traveling at near-light speed. The first alien cruiser exploded in silence, breaking apart into glowing fragments. The Dominion fleet reeled, shields flashing. "What is this?" roared Vortal aboard his flagship. "They possess rail technology?" "Impossible," shouted his advisor. "Their development level should not allow this." Vortal's expression darkened. "Then they evolve faster than expected." On Earth, cheers erupted in command centers as the first alien vessel was destroyed. Humanity had drawn blood. But the celebration didn't last. For every ship destroyed, 3 more appeared. The Dominion fleet pushed forward, overwhelming defenses. The drone carriers burned. Mars' orbital ring shattered. General Cade watched the losses come in. "They're testing us," she said softly. "They're not attacking to destroy. They're measuring our response." Dr. Elias Ward, the head of AI development for the Defense Council, appeared on the screen from Geneva. His face was pale. "If that's true, they'll adapt faster than we can fight. We'll need every secret project online." "Then bring them all online," Cade said. "Ares, Helios, everything." "Earth is the last line," Ward hesitated. "Do you really believe we can win?" Cade looked at the holographic map, the red swarm moving closer every second. "No," she said quietly, "but we can make them bleed." Far beyond the solar system, Warlord Vortal stood before the stars, hands clasped behind his back. "They resist," he said, almost admiringly. "Fascinating. For the first time, Prey fights back." His second-in-command bowed. "Shall we annihilate them?" Vortal shook his head slowly. "No, not yet. I want to see how far they will go. Every world breaks differently. Let us see what happens when this one realizes there is no escape." The Dominion fleet adjusted course, descending toward Earth. In 3 weeks, they would arrive. The blue planet shimmered in the dark, unaware of the full scale of what was coming. Humanity had sent its first message. The Dominion had given its first warning. Now the real war was about to begin. The first human victory was small, but it echoed across the stars. For the first time in galactic history, a Dominion ship had fallen, and its wreckage drifted in silence near Mars, torn open by human weapons. On board the Obsidian Rain, Warlord Vortal stood in front of the image, staring at the broken hull. The thought of defeat, however minor, was an insult. "They are more dangerous than they appear," he said quietly. His generals exchanged uneasy glances. "Primitive," one hissed. "So an accident, perhaps." But Vortal didn't believe in accidents. "No, they fight like predators." His voice was low, measured. "Not for glory, not for empire. They fight to survive." On Earth, the mood was grim but alive. Humanity had done the impossible. They had hurt the monsters from the stars. General Sarah Cade walked through the war room as data streamed across the giant screens. Every government, every military base, every scientist was working together. Old rivalries disappeared overnight. Status of the Ares fleet? She demanded. Commander Reed replied, fully operational, ma'am. 12 carriers, 48 destroyers, and the prototype dreadnought Titan Spear are ready. Cade nodded. And Helios? Dr. Ward's voice came through the secure line. Still charging. The solar array will reach full power in 6 days. We might not have 6 days, Cade muttered. Launch the fleet. We take the fight to Mars orbit. If they want a war, they'll see what Deathwielders can do. The word spread fast through the ranks, Deathwielders. It was what xenobiologists had always called humans, a species evolved on one of the most hostile planets in known space. High gravity, violent weather, endless predators, poisonous air to many life forms. Earth was a place that killed the weak and rewarded the ruthless. Now that same reputation would be their weapon. 3 days later, space trembled. The Ares fleet launched from Earth orbit, engines blazing like blue fire. Thousands of soldiers, pilots, and AI-controlled drones followed the human ships through the dark. The fleet formed near Mars, waiting. When the Dominion fleet appeared again, the trap was ready. "Contacts incoming!" shouted Lieutenant Mara Patel aboard the Titan's Spear. "We have over 100 hostiles entering Mars orbit." "Lock all rail platforms and deploy the decoys," ordered Cade. The Dominion ships came in fast, expecting the same resistance as before. But the humans were different now. They had learned. Their railguns fired in bursts, each projectile laced with EMP payloads that shut down enemy shields. Swarms of kamikaze drones rushed forward, detonating against the hulls of massive Dominion cruisers. In moments, the void turned into chaos. Vortal's fleet was caught off guard. "Their patterns, erratic," barked one Dominion officer. "They do not follow standard engagement protocols." Vortal watched the data streams flicker. "Because they have none," he growled. "They improvise." The humans were not fighting like soldiers of Empire. They were fighting like survivors, using broken debris as weapons, igniting fuel trails to blind sensors, turning wrecks into traps. Every move was unpredictable. Every attack was savage. On the Titan's Spear, Cade gripped the railing as the ship shuddered under impact. "Forward shields at 50%, yelled the helmsman. "Redirect power from secondary thrusters." Cade barked. "We don't need to run, we need to hit harder." The ship's main railgun rotated and fired, its tungsten round punching clean through a Dominion cruiser. The alien vessel exploded silently in the dark. Cheers erupted across the bridge. "That's 3 confirmed kills," someone shouted. But the celebration didn't last. More Dominion ships jumped into orbit. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. "They're surrounding us," Commander Reed warned. Cade's jaw tightened. "Good," she said. "They think we're trapped." She opened a direct channel to the fleet. "This is Admiral Cade. We hold here. If we fall, Earth falls. Remember who we are. Remember what planet made us. We are Deathworlders. Make them remember it too." Across the fleet, human soldiers roared in unison. Fighters dove into enemy formations. Ships rammed when weapons failed, and AI drones self-detonated inside enemy engines. Space became fire. Back aboard the Obsidian Rain, Vortal watched as one of his destroyers vanished in a flash of white light. "They sacrificed themselves," his lieutenant muttered. "They would rather die than yield." Vortal's tone was almost admiring. "A primitive instinct, but powerful." He turned to his communication officer. "Send a transmission to the Dominion High Command. Inform them that I require reinforcements. Earth will not fall easily." Hours later, the battle over Mars ended in silence. Half of the human fleet was gone, but so was nearly a quarter of the Dominion's vanguard. No one in the galaxy had ever inflicted such losses on them. Humanity had done the impossible again. In the aftermath, the remaining ships of the Ares fleet limped back to Earth orbit. The world below was waiting, billions watching, terrified yet proud. News channels broadcast images of the returning ships, their hulls scorched, their flags torn but still flying. General Cade stood before the world's leaders and spoke simply, "We held the line." But this is only the beginning. Dr. Ward appeared beside her, his voice grim. "Our AI systems recorded every second of the battle. We can learn, adapt faster than they can. If we have time, we can beat them." Cade looked out at the stars. "Time is the one thing we don't have." Far across space, Warlord Vortal stood before the wreckage of his fallen ships. For the first time, his empire had suffered real loss. His generals awaited orders, but he said nothing. Finally, he turned toward the stars where Earth hung like a sapphire. "They think this victory means strength," he whispered. "Let them believe it. When we return, they will know despair." The Dominion fleet began to gather again, hundreds, then thousands of ships forming in the darkness. The second wave would be unstoppable. But so would humanity, because for the first time in the history of the galaxy, someone had made the monsters bleed. And once Deathworlders smell blood, they never stop. The sky above Earth began to glow with fire. Here it started as faint red streaks in the upper atmosphere, shooting stars, people thought. But they weren't stars. They were the first drops of the storm. The core Dominion had returned, and this time they came with everything. From orbit, their fleet blotted out the sun. Thousands of warships, carriers, and Annihilator-class dreadnoughts hung above the blue planet like black. Mountains. The world had never seen anything like it. Admiral Sarah Cade stood inside Earth's orbital command center, eyes locked on the holographic display. "They're here," she said quietly. No one spoke. The command deck was filled with soldiers, engineers, and analysts, but in that moment the entire planet held its breath. Then the first transmission came through. The same cold voice as before: "Submit, or be erased." The message repeated across every human frequency, from the Arctic to the Amazon. This time no one answered. "Activate planetary shields," Cade ordered. Massive rings around the planet powered up, their emitters glowing blue. Giant satellite arrays projected invisible energy domes around major population centers. Across Earth, the defense network came alive. Orbital railguns, anti-ship missiles, and laser turrets locked onto incoming targets. On the ground, civilian evacuation orders were issued. Cities darkened, power grids rerouted to military command. Earth was no longer just a home, it was a fortress. In space, the Dominion fleet opened fire. The first wave of plasma torpedoes hit the outer defense grid, lighting up the upper atmosphere like a second dawn. Explosions spread across the sky, shock waves echoing through orbit. Entire defense platforms vanished in seconds. "We're losing orbital stations," shouted Commander Reed. "Shields holding at 70%. "Redirect power from the secondary array," Cade commanded. "We hold this line. Earth does not fall today." On the surface, billions watched in terror. Over every continent, the night sky burned crimson. Massive Dominion landing ships began to descend, their hulls glowing from atmospheric friction. Fighter squadrons launched from underground hangars, swarming upward to intercept. The air battles began, bright trails of fire streaking across the heavens. Human pilots, outnumbered 20 to 1, fought like demons. They dove straight into plasma storms, launching EMP flares and kinetic missiles. Many never returned. But for every Dominion ship that broke through, 3 more were destroyed. In Geneva, Dr. Elias Ward stood inside the solar control facility. The Helios weapon was ready, or nearly. A massive space array positioned near the sun, capable of channeling solar energy into a focused beam. Ward wiped the sweat from his brow. "We need 2 more minutes for full charge," his assistant said. "We don't have 2 minutes," Ward replied. He opened a comm line to Cade. "Admiral, Helios is online, but it's unstable. If we fire now, we might overload the entire array." Cade's voice came back steady. "If we don't fire now, there won't be an Earth to save." "Do it?" Ward hesitated only a second. Then he gave the order. "Helios array, fire." Out in space, near the orbit of Mercury, the sun itself seemed to flare. A beam of pure light shot outward, cutting across the solar system like a god's blade. The Dominion ships barely had time to react. The beam struck their forward fleet, vaporizing hundreds of ships in an instant. The explosion rippled outward, shattering formation and blinding sensors. For the first time, the core Dominion screamed in pain. Cheers erupted in command centers across Earth. "Direct hit," shouted Reed. "A third of their fleet destroyed." Cade didn't smile. "They'll be back." That wasn't enough. She turned to her officers. "We have to keep pressure. Every ship, every gun, every pilot. Fight until your last breath." But above them, Warlord Vortal was already adapting. On the Obsidian Rain, his fury was cold and silent. "So they've built a weapon worthy of us," he said. "Then we will take it from them." He pointed at Earth's holographic image. "Deploy the Scorcher units. Burn their atmosphere. Strip their planet until it is dust. The Dominion's secondary fleet began to reposition. Massive ships with rotating cores, planetary bombardment units, descended from orbit, targeting major cities. The bombardment began. Entire regions vanished in seconds. Oceans boiled. Forests ignited. The sound of impact thundered across continents. Humanity fought desperately, intercepting as many ships as possible. But the scale of the assault was beyond comprehension. Even as Earth's defenses fired back, millions died. The war had truly reached home. In the middle of chaos, Admiral Cade made a decision that would change everything. "Prepare Counter-Strike Alpha," she said, "and we take the fight to them." Reed stared at her in disbelief. "Ma'am, that's suicide. Our fleets are crippled." "Then we die standing," Cade said firmly. "Launch the Titan Spear. Target their command ship." The battered human dreadnought rose from orbit, engines roaring, weapons fully charged. It cut through Dominion fire like a knife, plasma streaking across its hull. "Lock target on the Obsidian Rain," Cade ordered. "Fire all railguns!" The shots ripped through the dark, slamming into Vortal's shields. The Dominion flagship trembled, but it did not fall. Vortal turned to his lieutenants, eyes blazing. "Impressive," he said. "They bleed, they burn, yet they fight." He leaned forward. "Signal the fleet. Prepare for ground invasion. I will crush them myself." Back on Earth, Cade watched as the Dominion ships began to descend toward the planet's surface. She knew what it meant. "They're coming," she whispered. "The real battle begins now." The command deck fell silent. Outside, the sky was red, the oceans boiling, and the air thick with smoke. But humanity had survived the first wave. They were battered, scarred, and burning, but still alive. As Earth rotated under the fire of alien warships, a message spread across the human networks, a simple phrase that echoed from bunker to bunker, from soldier to child across every continent. "We are Deathworlders. We do not kneel." And somewhere, high above the burning clouds, Vortal stared down at the defiant blue planet and muttered, "Then I shall make you." The smoke of battle still clung to Earth's atmosphere, but humanity refused to die. The fires burned in the sky, the oceans steamed, the ground was scarred, but life endured. From the ruins, new strength was born. Beneath what remained of the orbital defense grid, Admiral Sarah Cade stood on the command deck of the Titan Spear. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "Status report," Commander Reed replied. 70% of our fleet destroyed, ma'am. Helios array offline. Global communications, patchy at best." Cade didn't blink. "And the Dominion?" "They're regrouping in orbit, preparing for another assault." She stared at the star map, at the massive red icons above Earth. "Then we strike first." The idea shocked the room. "So, ma'am, we can't," Reed started, but Cade cut him off. "We hit them before they finish repairs. If we wait, we're done." She turned to the communications officer. "Get me Dr. Ward." Moments later, the scientist appeared on the screen, his face pale and streaked with sweat. "You're going to tell me this is impossible," Cade said before he could speak. "But I'm not asking for permission." Ward took a deep breath. "What are you planning?" "Operation Dawnstrike," she said. "We're going into their territory." Across the surviving human bases, orders spread like wildfire. Engineers rushed to repair damaged ships, soldiers rearmed, and AIs recalibrated tactical algorithms. Within 48 hours, humanity's remaining fleet, barely 24 operational warships, was ready. They had one goal: strike the Dominion before it could launch a second wave. Cade addressed her crew one last time. "We're not fighting for victory. We're fighting to show the galaxy that we will not be erased. You all know what we are." A silence fell. Then someone said it softly, "Deathworlders." The word rippled through the decks until it became a roar. In the cold void of space, the battered human fleet slipped through a newly discovered wormhole, one the Dominion used for supply runs. On the other side lay Verak, one of the Dominion's command worlds, heavily fortified, defended by hundreds of ships, and filled with alien soldiers. The moment the humans emerged, alarms blared across the planet's defense grid. "We've been detected," shouted Lieutenant Patel. "Good," Cade replied. "Let's make it count." The fleet spread out, dropping stealth drones that began jamming Dominion communications. Massive explosions lit up the night side of Verak as orbital stations were targeted by precision kinetic strikes. For the first time, the Dominion found itself on defense. "They're attacking a command world." One officer cried aboard the Obsidian Rain. Vortal's eyes narrowed. Impossible. No species would dare, but the data confirmed it. Human ships were inside Dominion space, cutting supply lines, destroying outposts, and rescuing alien prisoners. In the shadows of Verek's red sky, Dominion facilities erupted in chaos. Human special forces, small deadly teams in adaptive armor, moved through enemy bases, planting charges and freeing enslaved species. Among those rescued were Alvarin scientists, Threx warriors, and even fragments of Vaughn machines long thought extinct. "Who are you?" one alien prisoner asked as a human soldier broke his chains. The soldier's answer was quiet but sharp. "We're from Earth." Back in orbit, the Titan's spear fired its main cannon, punching a hole through the Dominion's planetary shield. Below, the planet's defense grid collapsed in flames. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had invaded a Dominion world and won. As the fleet began to withdraw, Cade stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the burning planet below. "This is for the ones they killed," she whispered. "For every world they took." The Dominion's pride was shattered. When word spread across the galaxy, everything changed. Species that had once bowed to the Dominion now hesitated. Some rebelled outright. Whispers spread from system to system. The humans fought back. The humans are winning. In cantinas and refugee fleets, the galaxy trembled as word of Verek's fall spread. For the first time in centuries, the core Dominion, the unchallenged masters of war, had been defeated. Entire systems whispered of the impossible, that a backwater species from an ignored blue planet had humiliated the greatest empire in history. On the Dominion's throne world, Vortal stood before the burning banners of conquered worlds, his clawed hand crushing a fragment of shattered armor. "Earth," he hissed, the name foreign and bitter on his tongue. "They have poisoned the galaxy with hope. I will burn them from the stars." While the Dominion prepared for vengeance far across the void, humanity was building something new. Earth had become a fortress, its skies filled with rebuilt ships, its orbit lined with defense platforms, its cities alive with cooperation between alien engineers and human scientists. The once divided nations of Earth were now united under a single command, the Terran Alliance. Admiral Sarah Cade stood at the center of it all, coordinating fleets, alliances, and strategies. Every hour, more alien refugees arrived, seeking protection and purpose. The Threx warriors offered their battle-hardened soldiers, the Alvarin brought their shield technology, and the remnants of the Vaughn shared their ancient AI cores. Together, they were crafting weapons that even the Dominion had never seen. Inside the massive orbital command hub known as Unity Station, Cade addressed the Council of Species. The room was tense, filled with beings from across the galaxy, each one a survivor of the Dominion's wrath. "We don't have time for mistrust," she said firmly. "The Dominion's next attack will come soon. If we fight alone, we die. If we fight together, we have a chance." A Threx general growled, "Humans fight like beasts, but you've earned our respect. We will stand beside you." The Alvarin diplomat added, "Our ancestors believed peace could last forever. We were wrong. You showed us that peace must be protected. We are with you." One by one, the others agreed. The Terran Alliance was born in that chamber, not as an empire, but as a promise. Meanwhile, deep in the asteroid belt, engineers worked on a new kind of weapon, the Prometheus engine. Designed by Dr. Ward and powered by the combined knowledge of human and alien minds, it could bend gravity itself into a weapon. "This could change everything," Ward said to Cade as they watched the test simulations. "If it works, it can tear a Dominion battleship in half." Cade nodded. "Then we'd better make sure it does." But there was one problem the Dominion knew. In the dark reaches of space, Dominion stealth ships monitored every movement. Vortal had dispatched his most ruthless commander, General Rakor, to crush the Alliance before the Prometheus engine could be completed. "Find their project," Vortal ordered, his voice low and venomous. "Destroy it. Leave nothing alive." Within days, Dominion fleets began to move through hidden wormholes, bypassing human defenses and heading straight for the asteroid research station, where the prototype was being built. When the alarm sounded, Cade was in the middle of a tactical briefing. "Dominion ships inbound, massive formation," shouted Commander Reed. "They've found the Prometheus facility." Without hesitation, Cade gave the order. "All ships to intercept. We hold that station at any cost." The human fleet launched into space, joined by Threx war cruisers and Alvarin defense spheres. The stars filled with fire once again. The Dominion came like a tidal wave, black and red ships blotting out the light. The battle for the Prometheus station was chaos incarnate. Human ships darted between massive Dominion cruisers, striking with railguns and plasma torpedoes. Threx fighters rammed enemy frigates head-on, sacrificing themselves to keep the enemy back. The Alvarin used their energy shields to protect key transports, while the Vorn AI drones hacked into Dominion systems, causing their ships to turn against one another. Still, the Dominion was too strong. One by one, Alliance ships began to fall. "They're breaking through," Reed shouted. "We can't hold much longer." Then Dr. Ward's voice came over the comms, strained and desperate. "Admiral, we're ready to test the Prometheus engine, but it's unstable. We might destroy ourselves." Cade didn't hesitate. "Do it." Ward's hands trembled as he activated the sequence. The station began to hum, a low vibration that grew until the stars themselves seemed to distort. A pulse of blue light exploded outward, bending space like liquid. Dominion ships caught in its radius began to twist and collapse in on themselves, their hulls imploding under impossible pressure. The fleet disintegrated in seconds. Silence followed. The void was littered with debris. When the light faded, the Prometheus station was gone, consumed by its own power. Cade closed her eyes, whispering, "You did it, Ward." The cost was terrible, but the message was clear. Humanity and its allies could now wield the power of gods. Across the galaxy, enslaved worlds rose in rebellion, inspired by the Alliance's victory. The balance of power was shifting. On the Dominion's throne world, Vortal's rage was boundless. His claws tore through the holographic map of the galaxy as he roared, "They've turned my Dominion into chaos." His advisor trembled. "My lord, the Alliance grows stronger every day. The Vorn cores are spreading through their fleets. We can't contain their influence." Vortal leaned forward, his eyes burning. "Then we destroy the core of their courage. We break Earth." As his fleets gathered for the largest invasion in galactic history, the stars themselves seemed to darken. The final war was coming, hand deep beneath the surface of Earth, hidden in the shadows of forgotten bunkers. Humanity was already preparing for it. For the first time, they weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting to end the Dominion forever. The sky above Earth burned once more. It began with a tremor in the upper atmosphere, a distortion that made satellites flicker and vanish. Then the stars themselves seemed to move. Billions looked up from cities, deserts, and ruined streets as the night sky filled with shadows. The Dominion Armada had arrived, a storm of ships, stretching from horizon to horizon, their crimson lights glowing like an endless sea of fire. It was the largest invasion in galactic history, and at its center was the warlord himself, Vortal aboard his flagship Obsidian Rain. His voice echoed through the fleet. "Erase the Death World. Leave no trace of their defiance." On Unity Station, Admiral Sarah Cade stood at the command deck, her expression hard but calm. "So it begins," she whispered. Commander Reed beside her said, "Every defense system is online. Orbital cannons, shield satellites, ground batteries all ready." Cade nodded. "Good, because this time we don't run." Across the planet, the Terran Alliance prepared for war. Alvarin shield arrays hummed over major cities. Threx ground units dug into defensive positions on every continent. Human troops stood ready alongside alien allies, their armor reflecting the glow of burning skies. Then the bombardment began. Massive plasma strikes hammered Earth's defenses, shaking the ground from orbit. Shield generators flared, barely holding under the pressure. Cade's voice rang across every channel. "Hold the line! We fight for every inch!" The Dominion fleet descended like a tidal wave, dropping troops across multiple continents. Their ships unleashed legions of biomechanical soldiers, creatures of armor and rage. But the Alliance was ready. Railguns roared, fighter squadrons streaked through the atmosphere, and anti-orbital cannons lit up the night. The sky turned into a storm of light and metal. In the ruins of old New York, Captain Arin Voss led a mixed squad of humans and Threx. "Hold the street!" he shouted, firing his pulse rifle into a swarm of Dominion troopers. A Threx warrior beside him snarled, "They keep coming!" Voss gritted his teeth. "Then we keep sending them back to whatever hell they came from." Explosions shook the ground as Dominion dropships landed nearby. But before the enemy could advance, the sky opened with a blinding beam from orbit, the Prometheus weapon, rebuilt and mounted on Unity Station. It tore through the Dominion ranks, vaporizing ships and ground forces alike. The people of Earth cheered, their hope igniting again. In orbit, Cade coordinated the counterattack. "Focus fire on their command ships," she ordered. "Take out their carriers." The Alliance fleet surged forward, human battleships, Threx war cruisers, Alvarin shield frigates, and Vaughn AI drones all moving as one. The void erupted into chaos. Dominion ships exploded in brilliant flashes, their formations breaking apart under the relentless assault. "They're falling back," Reed shouted. But Cade knew better. "No, they're regrouping." On the Obsidian Rain, Vortal watched the battle unfold. "Impressive," he muttered, "but they still bleed." He turned to his generals. "Deploy the Devourers." Moments later, the sky darkened again. Giant living weapons, massive biomechanical creatures, descended from orbit, each the size of a mountain. They fell through the atmosphere, crashing into the oceans and continents, unleashing waves of destruction. One landed near the Pacific Rim, another near Europe, and one in Africa. Their roar shook the world. "We've got multiple planetary breaches," Reed shouted. "Those things are burrowing toward the core." Cade clenched her jaw. "If they reach it, they'll destabilize the planet. We lose Earth." Without hesitation, she gave the most dangerous order in human history. "Initiate Operation Inferno." Across the world, hidden silos opened. Massive fusion bombs, designed not for enemies but to destroy the burrowing creatures, armed themselves. "You're going to nuke our own planet?" Reed said in disbelief.